Now, let's move to the second topic, that is why theology, the necessity of theology. And I have put up two reasons why theology is important. Because theology has a critical task. Number two, theology has a constructive task. So these are the two tasks of theology. That is why we need theology. Let's look at theology's critical task. In order to define Christianity and in order to defend the Christianity, you need theology. And that is a critical task of theology. Theology is necessary because theology is something by which Christianity is defined. In other words, what do we believe? The question of what do we believe can be only answered when we do the critical task of theology as defining what Christianity is. Right? So basically, we should know what do we believe. In order to answer the questions, theology should do the critical task to dig deeper and to define what do we believe. Now, having come to know what do we believe, and also it has to go to deeper levels to be able to answer the question, why do we believe? What do we believe? That's defending Christianity. So first I said under the critical task, theology is necessary because without theology we cannot define Christianity. Without theology we do not know what do we believe. And then once we have believed a set of beliefs, once we come to know the tenets of our faith, then we also have to defend and safeguard of our faith, as it were. So theology also helps us to get into the discipline of defending our faith. It helps us to know why do we believe what we believe. To know what we believe is good, but that is not end. We should also know why do we believe what we believe. For example, I believe in Trinity. That is defining Christianity. What do we believe, right? But why do I believe in Trinity? That is defending Christianity. That's a critical task of theology. Let's move to the second task of theology, that is theology constructive task. Now, there might be some overlapping here as we are trying to put them here. As theology attempts to construct, um, it unifies models of diverse biblical teachings. In other words, it prepares, constructs the scattered testimonies of the scripture across the Bible from the Genesis to the Revelation and putting together and trying to produce one single well systematized doctrine. Doctrines like atonement, doctrines like divinity of Jesus Christ, doctrine about Trinity. These are all the products of constructive work of theology. And also look at that. The second constructive task of theology is to relate those models that we have created, those theology or those doctrine that we have found in the constructive work, we should be able to communicate that to our contemporary culture. No, it's not only just knowing what do we believe, point one. It's not only be able to defend what we believe, that is point two. And it's not only constructing what do we believe, that is first under constructive task. And number two, also, how are you able to present what you have constructed? How are you able to present what you have constructed and what you are believing to the world outside of the church in a way that sounds very relevant to the culture. That's a challenge, right? That is why we continue to learn theology. We continue to use the categories, the present day, the current generation categories of language, science, philosophy, you name anything, drama, art. We try to use those ideas and categories and language style are used to communicate our finding of doctrine from the scripture to the culture in a relevant manner. So, in order to do all those things, we need theology. That is why we need theology. Let's move on to the next topic, that is initial assumptions or presuppositions of our study of theology. Let me put it in this way. There is no study possible without having an assumption. You name any field, whether it is science or geography or philosophy, there are assumptions and there are foundational principles, there are given ideas, there are kind of taken or assumed propositions that becomes a foundation of their further study. That is called assumptions. That is another word we call it, presuppositions, or we can even Christianly we speak faith. Okay, we have already taken it for granted as it is given. We don't have to establish that anymore. It is there already. You don't have to attempt to establish it. It is given. So that is called assumptions, right? I do not know whether you are able to appreciate that point, but it is very, very crucial as you are climbing the ladder of your pursuit of theology. Probably as you're thinking deeper, you will come to appreciate this idea. So the assumptions, what are the assumptions that we have, or what are the faith presuppositions that we have? At least we can name two. One is about Bible and another one is about God. You see, it is very clearly, I have mentioned here, number one principle that we take it by faith without any, kind of 100% rational proof. Okay. Um, we are taking it as an assumption or a presupposition, and we are starting our discussion about God by putting these two foundational stones as given. You don't have to defend it. But however, it is faith seeking understanding. We will think about it. But however, these are the two assumptions very, very important to us. What are they? Number one, the Bible is true and is in fact our only absolute standard of truth in that sense. And the Bible is understandable. And also, it got to be interpreted in a plain, literal interpretation by keeping the goal of that interpretation to find aim, to find author intended meaning. That is, we call authorial intention. So, to put simply, the first assumption would be Bible is true. Okay, that's the first foundational assumption or presupposition by which we can start to talk about God. Otherwise, without that assumption, talking of God is impossible. Let's go to the second assumption or presupposition, our second kind of faith. That is this: the God who is spoken of in the Bible exists. And he is who the Bible says he is. That is, he is the creator of heaven and earth and all things in them, says Grudem, page 7. So these are the two assumptions and presuppositions are foundational stones that we are taking it for as given a priori. You don't have to defend it. It is settled, all right?